Leather goods packing operator, huh? Not exactly the first thing that pops to mind when you think dream job, right?
Yeah, right?
But, after going through these RoleCatcher insights,
Mhm.
I gotta say, I'm
Yeah.
kind of fascinated. I mean, it's like this whole other side of the fashion industry you never really think about.
Yeah.
Obviously, someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
And it's way more involved than I would thought.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, think about the last time you bought, say, a nice leather bag.
Yeah.
You get that box, the tissue paper, maybe even a little thank you note.
Oh, yeah, it's all about the presentation.
Exactly. And that's the leather goods packing operator's domain.
Huh. So they're like the unsung heroes of the unboxing experience.
Exactly. They're the ones making sure that product arrives in perfect condition, ready to wow the customer.
Okay, so walk me through a typical day then. What does a leather goods packing operator actually do?
So you're in a warehouse, maybe a factory, and it can be pretty fast-paced. You're on your feet a lot, maybe lifting some heavy boxes. You might be applying the finishing touches to a product like attaching buckles to belts or putting dust bags on handbags.
So it's not all just packing peanuts and tape guns.
Definitely not. You're also checking for quality control, making sure each item meets the brand standards. And of course, there's the actual packing itself, getting that perfect fit in the box, adding the right amount of padding, sealing it up tight.
Sounds like it takes a lot of attention to detail.
Oh, absolutely. And precision. You don't want to be the one responsible for a customer getting a crushed handbag or a scratched belt buckle.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You're the last line of defense before it goes out the door.
Exactly. And then there's the documentation side of things. You got to make sure each order is correct, labeled properly, and ready for shipping.
So there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. It's not just about putting things in boxes. It's about understanding the value of those final touches and how they impact the customer experience.
100%. It's about taking pride in your work, even if it's behind the scenes. And, it's a job that's rapidly changing, too.
Oh, really? How so? Tell me more.
Well, like a lot of industries, technology is playing a bigger role. RoleCatcher mentioned things like automated packing systems, digital inventory tracking, even AI-powered quality control checks.
Wow. AI is everywhere these days, isn't it? But it
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, the fashion industry is all about speed and efficiency.
Right. And AI can help streamline a lot of those processes, freeing up human workers to focus on the more specialized tasks.
So what you're saying is, even in a job that seems pretty straightforward, you still need to be adaptable and willing to learn new skills.
Absolutely. And that's a theme we see again and again as we go deeper into these RoleCatcher insights.
Okay, so we've talked about the day-to-day, but what about the bigger picture? What's the career path look like for someone in this role? Is it a dead-end job, or can you actually move up?
That's where it gets really interesting because according to RoleCatcher, there's actually a lot of potential for growth.
Oh, tell me more.
You might start as an assistant packer, learning the ropes. Then, as you gain experience, you could move into a more senior role, like leading a team, managing inventory, or even training new hires.
Wow. From packing boxes to managing people.
Yeah.
That's quite a jump.
It is, but it just goes to show you that there's always room for advancement no matter where you start out.
That's encouraging to hear,
Yeah.
especially for someone who might be just starting their career.
Right. And it highlights how valuable those seemingly entry-level skills can be. Because think about it. Attention to detail, quality control, understanding how things are made, those are all transferable skills that apply to so many industries.
Right, right. You're not just learning how to pack a box. You're learning how to be a valuable part of a team, how to problem solve, how to work efficiently.
Exactly. And those are the kind of skills that employers are always looking for, regardless of the specific job title. And speaking of employers, it's really fascinating. RoleCatcher actually gives you a peek behind the curtain into how companies are using AI to find and recruit candidates.
Okay, now that you mention it, I did see something about that. Something about AI analyzing resumes. What's that all about? It's not like it's reading between the lines and judging my taste in fonts, is it?
You'd be surprised. It's actually way more sophisticated than you might think.
Really?
Yeah. This is cutting-edge stuff. We're talking algorithms that can understand the meaning behind the words on your resume, not just whether you use the right buzzwords.
Okay, that's a little unnerving, but also kind of impressive.
Oh, it is. And it's changing the game for both job seekers and employers.
So instead of fearing the robots taking over, we need to learn how to work with them to our advantage.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what RoleCatcher is all about. It helps you understand this new landscape. It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket.
I like the sound of that. So it's
Yeah.
like instead of just sending your resume out into the void and hoping for the best, you can actually use this technology to your advantage.
Precisely. It's about making smarter connections, and that's what AI can do. It can match your skills and experience with the right opportunities. It can help you understand what employers are looking for, and it can even help you prepare for those tough interview questions.
Speaking of interview questions, that's one thing I always struggle with.
Well, get this. RoleCatcher has this whole database of interview questions tailored to specific roles, even for, you guessed it, leather goods packing operators.
No way. So you can actually practice answering questions that are specific to the job you're applying for.
You got it. It's not just about memorizing answers. It's about understanding the thought process behind them, getting comfortable talking about your skills and experience in a way that resonates with employers.
That's huge. It's like having a cheat sheet for the interview, but instead of giving you the answers, it's helping you understand the thought process behind them.
Precisely. It's about being prepared for anything, even those curveball questions that they love to throw at you.
Right, right. Those ones are the worst. Okay, so we've talked about AI analyzing resumes, but the interview prep thing, that's a game changer.
It is. And you know what? RoleCatcher actually gave a few examples of the kind of questions you might be asked. For a leather goods packing operator, some of them are pretty specific, like, how would you handle a situation where a customer receives a damaged product? Or, what steps would you take to ensure quality control in a fast-paced environment?
Oh, wow. Yeah, those are tough ones, especially if you're new to the workforce.
Yeah.
Okay, but having those questions beforehand, having time to actually think about them and formulate a response, that takes a lot of pressure off.
Absolutely. It allows you to showcase those critical thinking skills, that ability to problem solve and think on your feet.
So it's not just about knowing how to pack a box. It's about showing that you can handle whatever comes your way.
Exactly. And that's what employers are really looking for, those transferable skills that go beyond the specific job description. And that's where RoleCatcher really shines, in my opinion. It helps you identify and articulate those skills, even if you're coming from a completely different field.
It's like they've decoded the secret language of employers, and they're giving you the key.
That's a great way to put it.
And one thing that really struck me when I was looking at the RoleCatcher excerpts is that they can actually tailor your resume to specific job descriptions. It's like having a personal branding expert on call 24/7.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is it levels the playing field. Maybe you don't have a fancy degree or a network of industry insiders feeding you leads, but with RoleCatcher, you have access to the same kind of insights and guidance that someone who's connected might have.
That's a really good point. It's about democratizing opportunity, giving everyone a fair shot at success. I love that.
Me too. And, it all comes back to this idea of embracing change. The job market is changing faster than ever before, and the only way to stay ahead of the curve is to be adaptable, to be a lifelong learner.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change, right?
Exactly.
And that is especially true in today's job market. Look at the leather goods industry, for instance. It's been around forever, but it's constantly evolving. New materials, new technologies, new consumer demands. The same is true for pretty much every industry out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the job seeker's perspective, but how does this all play out for employers? How are platforms like RoleCatcher changing the game for companies that are trying to, say, hire for a leather goods packing operator position? What's their experience like?
That's a great question. And it really gets at how AI is transforming recruitment from both sides. For employers, it's all about efficiency, finding the right fit for their team. Instead of sifting through mountains of resumes hoping to find that diamond in the rough, they can use AI to target their search.
So instead of casting a wide net, hoping for the best, they're using technology to hone in on the candidates who are the most qualified.
Exactly. They can input specific skills, experience levels, even things like cultural fit indicators, and the platform does the heavy lifting, identifying those candidates who really align with their needs.
It's like online dating, but for jobs.
Huh. I love that analogy. You're exactly right. It's about finding that perfect match where both the employer and the employee feel like they've hit the jackpot.
It's like taking the guesswork out of it. No more blindly sending out resumes or hoping the right candidate magically appears in your inbox.
Exactly. It's about making those smart connections more efficiently, more effectively. And that's where AI can really shine. And it's interesting because this whole discussion about leather goods packing operators, it actually highlights something really important about how we view work in general.
What's that?
Well, we often overlook those invisible jobs, the ones that might not have the flashiest titles or get the most attention, but they're the ones that keep the world running.
Oh, that's so true. Like we see a beautiful leather jacket in a store, and we don't think about all the people who helped get it there. The craftspeople, the quality controllers, the people in the warehouse, the packing operators.
Exactly. And those jobs often require a really unique combination of skills, attention to detail, dexterity, and understanding of materials. And those skills are incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. They may be hidden in plain sight, but they're essential.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I love about platforms like RoleCatcher. They're shining a light on those hidden gems, those skills that might not be listed on a fancy resume, but are so important in the real world.
They're helping us connect the dots.
Yes. And they're reminding us that there's value in every job, in every skill set.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up our deep dive here, what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with today?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing is to never underestimate the power of continuous learning and adaptability. The world is changing so quickly, especially the job market. But if you're willing to learn new skills and embrace new technologies, you'll be in a much better position to thrive.
It's like we've been saying throughout this whole thing. Embrace the change, be open to new possibilities, and don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Well said.
This has been such an interesting conversation. Thanks so much for joining me today. It was great having you.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, your dream job might just be hiding in plain sight. It really is. It's like having someone prep you, not just give you the answers.
Exactly. You get to actually think about the questions, what they're really getting at, how your skills and experiences connect. It's not just about this one job either. These are the kinds of things employers are looking for across the board.
So whether you're packing boxes or, I don't know, designing software, being able to think on your feet, solve problems, those are the magic skills.
They really are. And that's where RoleCatcher, it really helps you highlight that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they've cracked the code. Like, okay, here's what employers are actually looking for, and here's how to show them you've got it, even if your last job was totally different.
It's like having a translator for the job market. You said it.
Right? And speaking of translating, one thing that really blew my mind was how RoleCatcher can actually tailor, like seriously tailor, your resume.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't just mean spell check and grammar. We're talking AI that understands what employers want, what they're looking for in the wording.
It's like having a personal branding expert in your back pocket.
Right.
Available 24/7. And honestly, what I love about that is, not everyone has connections, people in the know. This kind of levels the playing field for everybody.
I mean, when you put it that way, yeah. It's like democratizing opportunity. And I got to say, when we first started talking about AI and all this, I was a little, is this really necessary? But now that we're getting into it, it's kind of amazing.
It is. And I think for so long, people have been afraid of AI. But really, it's about using it to your advantage, right? Like you were saying.
100%.
It's about partnering with technology to create more opportunities for everyone.
It's like embrace the change, learn the new skills. It's the only way to stay ahead, especially in the job market these days.
That's it. That's the key takeaway. The job market's like fashion, always evolving.
Oh, good one. Like we were talking about the leather goods industry.
Exactly. What's old is new again, You
Yeah.
have to be willing to adapt and learn and change with it.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how this all works for job seekers, right?
Yep.
But what about the employers? Like, how does a platform like RoleCatcher, how's it changing things on their end?
That's a great question because it is a two-way street. And for employers, I think the biggest thing is efficiency, right? They want to find the perfect candidate without having to, go through thousands of resumes.
So it's like less about luck, less about just hoping you stumble across the right person.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of it. They can be a lot more targeted in their search using these platforms. They tell RoleCatcher what they're looking for, the specific skills, the experience level, even things like cultural fit, and the AI does the work.
So no more just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best.
Right. It's about making those smart connections much more efficiently and effectively.
It really is like online dating, but for jobs. I mean, you're trying to find the perfect match.
Exactly. And when you find that match, it's a win-win for everyone. The employer gets a great candidate, and the employee finds a job where they can really thrive.
It's like they've taken all the guesswork out of the hiring process. You don't have to blindly send out resumes, and employers don't have to hope that the right person just magically falls into their lap.
Gracefully.
It really is, and it benefits everyone involved.
Exactly. And it really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
About all those jobs we don't always think about, but are actually really important. Like this whole conversation about leather goods packing operators, it just highlights how much we rely on those invisible jobs.
You're right. You're right. Like you see a beautiful leather jacket in a store. You don't necessarily think about everyone who had a hand in getting it there.
Exactly. It's easy to forget about all those steps in the process.
The craftspeople, the quality control, the people packing it up carefully so it gets to you in perfect condition.
Right. All of those people using their unique skills, those often overlooked skills.
And those skills, like I said, they might not always be the most glamorous, but they're so essential.
Absolutely.
Whether it's attention to detail, dexterity, understanding of materials, there's so much value in that.
100%. And I think that's why I find platforms like RoleCatcher so fascinating. They're really shining a light on those hidden gems, those valuable skills that don't always get the recognition they deserve.
They're helping us appreciate the bigger picture.
Exactly. And they're helping people connect the dots between their own skills and experience, even if it's not something they thought was directly relevant.
It's like they're opening up a whole world of possibilities.
Right. They're saying, hey, you might have what it takes for this, even if you don't realize it yet.
So as we kind of wrap things up here, what's the one big takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with today?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing is just to never stop learning.
Never stop learning. Okay.
Yeah. The world's changing so fast, especially the job market. You have to be willing to adapt, to learn new skills, to embrace new technologies.
To embrace the change.
Yes, exactly. If you can do that, you'll be in a much better position to thrive, no matter what the future holds.
Be adaptable. Stay curious. Never stop learning. I love it. This has been such a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It was my pleasure, truly. I always love these conversations.
And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive. And remember, you never know what you might learn or what possibilities might open up if you just stay curious and keep exploring.